Have you ever looked around at the world and thought, something big is about to happen? There's a feeling in the air, a sense that we're living in a truly significant time in history. Many people, looking at current events through the lens of biblical prophecy, believe we are witnessing the final signs before the end of the age. Today, we're going to explore 6 compelling reasons why many believe the world as we know it is drawing to a close. And reason number 4 is especially heartbreaking. Stay with me as we unpack these signs that seem to be converging all at once. First, let's talk about sin reaching what the Bible describes as biblical proportions. Think back to the days of Noah or the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. The Bible tells us God's judgment came when wickedness became so widespread and deeply ingrained that it was the dominant culture. When we look at our world today, we see a global culture that often celebrates what the Bible calls sin. Things that were once considered shameful are now paraded as virtues. There's a widespread rejection of absolute truth and a growing hostility towards biblical values. This isn't just about individual failings. It's about a collective, societal turn away from God's standards. Many scholars see this as a parallel to the conditions described right before major judgments in the past. It's as if the cup of iniquity is nearly full, and that's a major signpost for those watching for the end times. The second reason is the incredible rise of technology. For centuries, people wondered how certain end times prophecies could even be possible. Consider the concept of the mark of the beast, described in the book of Revelation, where no one can buy or sell without a specific mark on their right hand or forehead. A few decades ago, this seemed like science fiction. But today, we have digital currencies, biometric identification, and the technology for a global, cashless society is not just possible. It's being actively developed and implemented. The infrastructure for the kind of economic control described in Revelation is falling into place right before our eyes. Technology that can monitor and control populations on a global scale is no longer a far-fetched idea, making prophecies written 2,000 years ago seem more plausible than ever. The third, and perhaps one of the most significant signs, is the nation of Israel. For nearly 2,000 years, the Jewish people were scattered across the globe without a homeland. Many biblical prophecies about the end times, especially in the Old Testament, are centered on Israel being a nation again in its ancestral land. Jesus himself, in Matthew 24, used a parable of the fig tree, which many interpret as representing Israel. He said, "When you see the fig tree put forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. Likewise, when you see these signs, know that he is near, at the very doors." In 1948, against all odds, Israel was reborn as a nation. This single event set the prophetic clock ticking in a way it hadn't for centuries. The continued existence of Israel, surrounded by hostility, and its central role in world politics, is seen by many as the super sign that we are in the final generation. Now we come to our 4th reason, and it's a truly heartbreaking one. It's the global scale of child sacrifice. In ancient times, pagan nations sacrificed their children to false gods, like Molech. God condemned this in the strongest possible terms. Today, we may not have literal altars to Molech, but many believe we are witnessing a modern-day equivalent through the global practice of abortion. Millions upon millions of unborn children lose their lives every year. The Bible is clear about the sanctity of life from conception. Psalm 139 says we are fearfully and wonderfully made, knit together in our mother's womb. When a society widely accepts and even champions the destruction of its most vulnerable, its own children, it's a profound sign of deep moral and spiritual decay. This disregard for the most innocent of human lives is seen by many as a grievous sin that cries out for justice, echoing the very practices that brought judgment upon ancient civilizations. The 5th sign is the growing apostasy within the church. The Bible warns that in the last days there will be a great falling away. This isn't talking about people outside the church, but people inside it. The Apostle Paul wrote to Timothy that a time will come when people will not endure sound doctrine, but will instead gather for themselves teachers who will say what their itching ears want to hear. We see this today. Many churches are abandoning core biblical truths to be more culturally acceptable. The authority of Scripture is questioned, the reality of sin is downplayed, and a universalist message that all paths lead to God is promoted. This watering down of the gospel and the rise of a feel-good, culturally conforming Christianity is exactly what the Bible predicted would happen right before the end. When the salt loses its saltiness and the light is hidden, it's a sign that the time is short. Finally, The sixth reason is the convergence of all prophecies. It's not just that one or two prophecies are being fulfilled. It is that dozens of them from across the Old and New Testaments are all coming together in our lifetime. Think of it like a puzzle. For centuries, we only had a few scattered pieces. Now, it's as if the remaining pieces are being slammed into place all at once. The rise of a one-world government sentiment, the push for a single global religion, the increase in earthquakes and natural disasters, wars and rumors of wars. Jesus called these the beginning of birth pains. All these signs the moral decay, the technology, Israel's rebirth, the sacrifice of the unborn, the apostasy in the church, and the general convergence of prophetic events are happening simultaneously. It is this convergence that makes our time unique and leads many to believe we are the generation that will see these things culminate. So, what do we do with this information? The purpose isn't to scare you, but to awaken you. The Bible gives us these signs so we won't be caught off guard. It's a call to examine our own hearts and our relationship with God. Are we ready? The message of the Bible has always been one of hope. It points to a way of escape through faith in Jesus Christ, who promised to return for those who have put their trust in him. If this conversation has stirred something in you, I encourage you to open a Bible, perhaps starting with the Gospel of John or the book of Revelation, and see for yourself. The signs are all around us. The question is, will we have eyes to see them? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into a topic that affects every single one of us. If you found this thought-provoking, please like the video and share it with someone you think needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more content that explores these important questions. Until next time, stay watchful.